Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Acadia Reese, and today I'm going to be talking about my struggle with dissociative amnesia, specifically on the topic of losing loved ones, which is a very hard topic. I want to put a trigger warning on this. This is rough, but something that is so not talked about that it needs to be talked about. I've never heard of anyone struggle with this, so I just want to bring light to it. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in order to start off my YouTube channel, so please, if you have not already, go subscribe. And once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I would love to do a giveaway for you guys, so please go hit that subscribe button for a chance to win when that day comes. I also just want to say that you guys are always pointing out how brave I am for speaking out on such hard topics, but the truth is I can't speak on it for a long time. It takes me a long time to get to the point where I can openly talk about it with no tears coming out of my eyes. But in the beginning stages, I do not handle these types of things well. So just because I'm smiling during any of these hard videos does not mean that I don't feel anything when it comes to these topics. It's that I've already kind of felt the worst of it, and I'm in a spot where I finally can open up about it enough to film a video to inform other people on it. I just got a new spinny chair, by the way. So I might be spinning and fidgeting, which is probably not a good idea, but whatever. I'm just gonna get right into the video. I don't really have anything else to say, so let's do it. I was diagnosed with dissociative amnesia as a part of my PTSD diagnosis, which means the two kind of go with each other, which is a fairly common thing that happens. A lot of people that suffer major post-traumatic stress disorder also have a great amount of memory loss. However, I am also in the process of getting those two diagnoses separated because my dissociative amnesia is so bad when it comes to a variety of different topics. And to say right off the bat, I've experienced so many loss of loved ones in my life, but only specific ones have brought about dissociative amnesia within my brain. So I know what it's like to normally grieve someone's loss and to have normal memory loss of, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that moment happened with this person. But they're two completely different feelings, and I can tell you that from experience. Having normal memory loss is so different from dissociative amnesia memory loss. It's very severe and very different in ways that are so hard to explain without comparing to everyday forgetfulness. So I specifically have localized dissociative amnesia, which means I forget certain hour or minute long periods within a certain event or relating to a certain person once my brain realizes that trauma is occurring. So when it comes to losing loved ones, I'll remember everything about every memory that I've ever had with this loved one, but until they pass away, then my brain is like, oh my gosh, and just goes, oh, all those memories I have with that person, gone. Dissociative amnesia is such a weird and frustrating disorder because the brain, just as a reaction to what is happening, picks and chooses what parts to shut down, and you have no say over what you remember and what you don't remember. Same thing when it comes to resurfacing these memories. You have no control over what causes your brain to go, oh my gosh, that reminds me of this. An example I use when talking about my abusive relationship is he would yell at me for 5 hours at a time. I would go to bed, wake up the next morning, and have no memory of what happened within those 5 hours. But I would remember everything surrounding those 5 hours, just not the 5 hours itself, which is the localized part of the amnesia, meaning certain moments are forgotten and taken out of your normal memory. The brain does this, I think, mostly because it's just stunned and shocked at what's happening, that it doesn't know what else to do than just pretend it's not happening. And like I've talked about in a previous video, it's not that you're in denial. Your brain just automatically shuts down because it's this is too much, I can't. You know when you're using you have too many things plugged into an outlet and then the whole circuit is just pfft. It's kind of like that in the brain, where when your brain sees that there's trauma occurring, when your brain sees that there's a lot occurring, it kind of just shuts down and then everything is rebooted kind of thing. And then one day your brain is hey, that reminds me of this situation. And it kind of just, like a vacuum, just sucks the memory right back over, and then it's in your brain again, and you're where did that just come from? That wasn't in my brain before. This is so frustrating because I cannot explain it. It's as if you've walked through every single room in your mind and none of them had that memory. And then one day it just hits you like a truck and you're like, where did that come from? So normal memory loss is just like, oh my gosh, haha, I totally forgot about that. But dissociative memory loss is like, what? Like, when did that, like, I know when it happened now, but like, where was that? Where has that been all this time? And it's so frustrating. But it's the most frustrating on the topic of losing loved ones, and it makes the grieving process so brutal. And I'm going to get into that now. So in order to remember things that have been quote unquote removed from your brain, someone or something around you will cause your brain to be like, what? And then it hits you and you're like, whoa. Like, you know those things where dogs are like sleeping and then their owner will say the word walk and they're like, what? And they like perk up. It's like that. Like, a little person in your brain is holding all these memories hostage, and then when it hears like a certain word or smells a certain sound or walks through a certain scene again, it like perks up, like, what? And then like they're like, oh, this one. And they're just like chuck this memory at you. It's so hard to explain, but that's how I'm explaining it. So it takes a traumatic event to relive a traumatic event. And in addition to that, even the dumbest thing can trigger your little guy. We'll call him, okay, we're gonna call the little guy that's holding all my memories hostage Eduardo. When it comes to my dissociative amnesia after losing loved ones, the second I hear the news, all the memories that I've ever had with this person are suddenly taken away from me. So I could have had all these hundreds and hundreds of moments with this person, but little Eduardo comes in the second he hears those news and goes, I'm scared, like, this is a lot, I can't handle all these moments that have happened over the years, I'm just gonna push them aside. Like, your brain is just so scared and so shocked that that's the only thing it can think to do. And again, I have no control over the fact that these are just wiped out from under me. Believe me, if I could choose, I would just let the grieving happen. With my dissociative amnesia, like I said, I'm usually left with 3 moments. So I hear the news of their loss, and then I now have 3 memories with them total that are in my head. And before I knew that I had this disorder, I thought that those were the only memories I had with this person, and that was so frustrating. I'm gonna cry. It is so frustrating because in the first few days of the loss, everyone gets to sit back and reflect, like, I remember the time that me and this person got to do this, or I remember the time me and this person did this, or we got in trouble for this, or whatever. Like, everyone gets to sit back and reflect on all the moments they've shared with this person over the years. And yes, there's obviously going to be common memory loss, like in a few years, like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot we did that together. That was so fun. But for me, it's not that. And you see in the movies, after someone like hits their head and develops amnesia where they like forget who they are, forget who their family is and stuff, they'll like show them pictures and they're like, I fully believe that you're telling me that those are like my parents or those are my friends or that's my house, but I have no memory of that. So even though you're showing me this proof that this happened, my brain cannot recall it and it just seems so fake. So I could go back through and look at memories like, yes, we did this sport together, yes, we went to this place together, yes, we were in this photo together, and I know that someone didn't just Photoshop a picture of us together. I know that we did play this sport together, but I remember everyone else on the team, I don't remember you, except for the proof that I have in front of me. So like, I know that we did this sport together because you're in this picture with me doing this sport, but in my mind, there's no memory of being in that sport with that person. Anyways, I'm getting a little sidetracked. So, like I said, I've lost a handful of loved ones in my life, but there's only 3 that I know of so far where I've had memory loss because of how traumatic that death was for me. So my first dissociative amnesia moment occurred when I was 9 or 10 years old. I was in 5th grade and I lost my aunt very unexpectedly. I know I didn't have a whole lot of memories with her because I was so little, and we lived in different states, but I forgot pretty much anything that I did know and remember of her. So when the funeral came, I couldn't cry. And I know that there are people that like cry and cry and cry when they hear the news, and then once the funeral comes, they're like, I don't have any more tears left to cry. Because again, I have felt that normal sense of I don't have any more tears right now, like they're all just gone. But like I didn't have tears throughout that whole process. Like not the tears that I should have been having if I didn't have this disorder. So that happened in 5th grade, and then 2 months later I got into my first like little dumb elementary school relationship. So like literally not a real relationship at all. But like a few days went by and then the relationship ended. And even though, like I said, it was a dumb 5th grade relationship, it didn't even matter. For some reason, the words that it was over triggered little Eduardo to perk up and be like, hey, remember when you heard that this life was over? And then even though it was a dumb little breakup, all these memories just resurfaced of my aunt. And I was like, where were these tears months ago when she passed? And I remember one of my friends at the time came up to me like, are you seriously crying over a breakup? And I said something along the lines of, it made me think of my aunt. And back then I didn't know that that was dissociative amnesia, but looking back now, I'm like, huh. Like that was a triggering moment. Even, like I said, it was such a dumb little breakup, but it triggered that little similarity of something I had previously gone through, and then suddenly all these memories were coming back and hitting me like a truck. And you just feel so alone when they resurface because they're like, they've been gone for this long now. Like, why are you just now grieving? It's just hard. So that was kind of the first loss of a loved one that triggered that within me, and the thing that triggered it was that dumb little 5th grade breakup. The second loss of a loved one happened when I was in 7th grade, and it was one of my best friends. And the second I heard the news, all my memories of her, except for 3, were completely wiped from my brain. Like I could go back through and look at pictures of this girl and see, like I said, I did this sport with her, I went to all these events with her, but I remember everyone else about that event except you. Like, it's like you weren't even there. Like, it's so weird. Literally, like, there's 24 hours in a day, and someone just removes 2 hours of them. Like, that day still happened. And it doesn't occur to you, like, hey, did I totally skip an entire day? No, like, you just skipped, like, a little portion of the day, like, a little moment of that day. So I was left with 3 memories of this person, and that was so hard because I felt like I was not allowed to grieve her loss. Like, I was sitting there sobbing because she was so important to me. But if someone would ask me, what's a moment you had with her? I couldn't think of any. And that just made me feel like a horrible person. Like I didn't love them enough. And like I didn't care about them enough while they were here. But that's not the case at all. It's like... that memory is just wiped away. So I knew that she was one of my best friends when she passed, but I couldn't remember any moments that I had with her. So when it came to like posting about her and talking about her, I felt so guilty, like I had no right to grieve her loss if I couldn't remember why she was important to me, and if I couldn't remember the key moments of our friendship that we shared except for like 3. So like I'm sitting here sobbing my eyes out, but I'm like, you literally had 3 moments with her, why are you crying? Get over it, kind of thoughts. And I just felt like everyone was looking at me and saying that. And at the funeral and stuff, like, her mom came up to me, hi if you're watching this, I hope you're not watching this, but her mom came up to me and she was like, she loved you so much, like, do you remember the time when she blah blah blah, and like with you and blah 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 blah. And I know she's telling the truth. I know that this is something that happened, but I don't have any memory of that moment. So I'm like, you guys get memory about this and I don't. Like, you guys remember things about her because I don't. And when it comes to losing loved ones, everyone has the moments where you're like, I forget what their voice sounded like. Like, after a long period of time, you're like, I forget what their voice sounded like. I forget what their smile looked like. I forget what their laugh sounded like. But that happens like after months and years, not right away. And for me, it was like, have I ever even looked at this person in my life? Like, I see a picture of them, but I don't see a person that I knew in them. I just see a person that passed and now I'm sad over it, but I don't remember anything about. It's so frustrating because you just feel so guilty. Just like I had no right to grieve this loss if I couldn't remember why they were important to me. So 4 years go by and I still only had 3 memories with this girl. And then somehow I was, thank you, Jesus, blessed with the memory of 5 other things that happened. So now I have about 8 memories of this person that I loved so much while she was here. And I always I didn't know why I did this. There's so many things when it comes to dissociative amnesia that you do, but you have no idea why you do it based on something that has happened in your past. And for me, whenever it came to like anniversaries, everyone else around me could just post happy birthday, I miss you so much, I'm so glad you're in a better place now, or something very short like that. But I could never do that. I always had to write every little detail about one moment that I had with her. And yes, I am a very wordy person. I'm always sending paragraphs to people and always writing in paragraphs rather than one sentence at a time. But I look back now and I'm like, I was just trying to convince myself that I remember this person. You know when you're freaking out, you're like, I can't do this, but you say to yourself, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. Saying it out loud makes you believe it a little more. So for me, it's if this is all I have left of her, by saying it out loud to all these other people and having all these other people being like, yeah, you're talking, obviously these are things that happen with you too. Can you imagine not having any memory of a person that meant the most to you when they pass? I feel so much sadness and anger, but I don't know why. I know I cared about this person, but why? I didn't have any moments with them. Why is this? Which is something that does happen, especially if it's one of your friends' parents, someone that you are only acquaintances with. You have that, that is so heartbreaking. But you didn't know them that well. But for these losses, it was no, I had so many moments with this person. Where are they? But I didn't know that they were missing. I didn't know I had this disorder. I didn't know, I genuinely thought that I only had 3 moments with this person. So that's just really hard. On year 4, I lost a second person in my life. And that triggered memories of the last person, the last very significant loss that I had. And like I said, I now have 8 memories of this person. And I remember when their birthday or something came around that year that I remembered all these new things, I was all of a sudden talking about all these new moments that I had with her. And I know no one cares, but I posted about them on Facebook, and I remember thinking to myself, people are gonna be like, why have you never talked about these moments before? It's so crazy because people, when they lose a significant other, they'll have all the memories laid out in front of them, and they'll pick their 4 favorites and live off of those ones. But the memories that I get aren't my favorite moments with this person. They're just whatever 3 are left behind. So they can be really insignificant, and you're like, why am I so sad if the moment that I had with her was so insignificant anyways? It was just hard, but I just felt like everyone in the world was gonna be like, why are you just bringing these up now? Because that's the whole thing with dissociative amnesia. It doesn't come back and hit you, you don't feel things that you should have felt so long ago because you have no memory of it. Like, you can't grieve from what you don't remember happened. So like, I can grieve their loss and I can grieve the things that I do remember, but everything else, it's like I have everything built up inside of me. I have something inside of me. I know this person was important to me, but I don't know why. And that is so frustrating. And it just makes the grieving process so, it makes me angry thinking about, like, all I want to do is grieve this loss. Like, this is the biggest thing happening in my life right now. I just want to grieve it with everyone else, where everyone else is going through it. Because when I'm remembering things 4 years later, people are like, we've all moved on from this. Like, why are you just now talking about it? Like, it's so frustrating and heartbreaking. So when this other person passed away, all these new memories were resurfaced, but it had been 4 years, and I was all of a sudden like describing in detail, like, I remember this and this and this, and it's just so weird. And I know I'm just saying the same things over and over again, but it's just like a cycle, and I feel like the dissociative amnesia never stops. I feel like I'm never gonna regain all of my memory of this person in my life, just because I feel like there's not enough traumatic things in my life that are going to happen to be able to trigger these memories. Like, there are things you can do to help with therapy and things like that. Like, for me, I've been specifically going back to places where there's pictures of us together. Like, even though I don't remember us being there together, if there's a picture of us together, there must be something there at that place that will trigger something within me. So I remember I went on a hike recently to a place where I had once hiked with this other person, just hoping that by being there again, something would resurface, and nothing did. I just looked at the picture, like, we're in this picture together right here. Like, we were here together at the same time, on the same day. Like, why is it like she was never there? And it's not because she's not important, but like, she was just taken from my memory. Like, I don't know. So I try, like, going back to places that I'm just praying with all my heart will trigger something that I can heal from, but it just doesn't always work like that. Your dissociative amnesia, like I said, just picks and chooses what, like, makes it perk up, like what reminds it of something and what doesn't. And it can be the strangest, I don't know, it can just be the strangest thing that triggers that memory. That even going to the exact place where something happened won't even trigger anything for you. Like, it's just whatever one day randomly clicks in your brain, and then it's like, here's that memory. So the next person passed away within the last few years, and I still haven't recovered any memories of this person. And I've been doing everything. Like I said, I went on a hike. Like, I know that these memories are going to come at some point, and I'm like, well, I'm already recovering all the memory of my abusive relationship. Like, I just want to get all the grief out at once. I just want to remember everything at once. And I'm honestly thankful that it comes back in pieces over the years, because something I've learned with my abusive relationship is if I keep trying to remember everything that happened to me, like, that's 2 years worth of abuse. Like, that's 2 years worth of traumatic moments that happen. So part of me is thankful that some of it comes back in pieces, but at the same time, I just want to be normal. I just want to grieve like everyone else grieves. I just want to know what I've been through so I can get over it and move on. But I feel like the grieving process is never going to end for me. Like, it's always restarting. Like, everyone else gets to, like, have the start of their grieving period, and then it just slowly fades out. But for me, it's like starts and then fades out and then starts again and then fades out. Like, it's so hard because it's like they just keep passing over and over again, and that's awful. Like, I can't even explain how frustrating that is, but I'm sure you can imagine if you've lost someone in your life. Can you imagine reliving that fairly often? And at the most random times, like, I'll be trying to work, like, I'll be working, talking to a customer, or like just doing something, and then all of a sudden I'm bawling my eyes out because something just randomly hit me like a truck. Like, I just wish I could grieve these things while everyone else is grieving, while I had time to sit down and cry about it and heal from it, but I don't get that. Like, it's just this big emotional roller coaster, and it is so heartbreaking and frustrating in ways that I can't explain. And I'm not saying that, losing these loved ones have been more traumatic for me than anyone else. Obviously, it's just so traumatic for me in such different ways than it is for other people. Like, I still am experiencing the same amount of trauma that they experience, but they get it kind of all at a gradual setting, rather than for me, it's just this constant back and forth, and that's so hard. So I had a traumatic breakup for my brain recently, but that didn't unlock memories of her loss. It unlocked memories of my abuse, which is why I'm just now going through what the heck happened to me, because I'm just now remembering things that happened and having to get over it as if they happened yesterday. So I'm thinking the next traumatic thing that I go through is going to be the thing that causes some memories to resurface, even if it's only 5 of the moments I had with this person. But for now, I don't have any of that. I have gotten to grieve some of her loss, but that was connected to the relationship I was in, because she passed while I was in that relationship. But I still have no memories of this person. I have 3. And even one of them, like, this person was my role model, like, for literally everything. But the biggest thing was my role model in cheering. And she always did her push-ups so perfectly. And the coaches would always like, can everyone do their push-ups like this person? And I always was like, yeah, like, if she does it so good, I want to do it that good. So I would do my push-ups just like her. And then I was the person that was like, can people do push-ups like Acadia? Because I got it from her. And I know that I got that from her. Like, I know that she was my role model, but I don't ever remember watching her do push-ups. Like, I know what her push-ups looked like based on how I do my push-ups, because I know that I got them from her. But I don't remember seeing her do push-ups ever. Like, I cannot picture her doing push-ups. Like, it's so weird. Like, I have, like, some of one of the 3 memories that I have, but not all of it. And, you know, you don't expect to remember watching someone do push-ups, but, like, if this was my role model, like, I was watching her doing these things. I was looking up to her as she lived her little life. And, like, you would think that I would have something of that, but I just don't yet. But I know that it happened. Because I remember, like I said, for my dissociative amnesia, I forgot anything that happens about her, but I didn't forget cheering in general, if that makes sense. So, like, I know that she was my role model. I know that I did things like she did it, because that's how I lived my life. Like, I remember living my cheering life, but I don't remember her being in it. Like, it's so weird and so hard to explain. So I'm really frustrated. I've been trying to do what I can to unlock memories of this girl, because I just want to grieve it and get it over with like everyone else gets to. And not get over it, because obviously deaths are something that affect you for the rest of your life, but I just want to have that gradual loss like everyone else gets, because the choppiness is just too hard. I don't know. It's just so frustrating. I love them, and I just want to remember them. And it's just so sad that everyone gets memories with these people, and I feel like I don't. Like, what did I do to deserve to be the person that doesn't get to remember any moments I had with someone? And I keep saying to my therapist, like, I just want to be normal. I just want to experience this like everyone else. But she just keeps saying, honey, you are normal. Like, you went through something traumatic, and this is how the brain reacts to traumatic things. And people, which makes sense, but at the same time, like, not everyone, like, this disorder is pretty rare. Like, very common in like veterans and things like that, but just in normal everyday life, like, it's pretty rare. It's not something that everyone, but it is normal for the brain to react a certain way when it comes to traumatic events. Just not as extreme, I guess. I don't know, it's so hard to explain. I'm gonna make a whole other video talking about my dissociative amnesia when it comes to my abusive relationship. With amnesia based off of traumatic things that have happened, whether it's like being at war or going through an abusive situation or like losing a loved one, your brain just doesn't know what to do with what's happening, and it just, like I said, just shuts down. Like, that's the only way it knows how to respond. Like, if you're a veteran, you're very obviously going through something that's very traumatic. It's completely normal for you to suffer memory loss as a response to what's happening. And when you're going through abuse, it's completely normal for you to have memory loss based on what's happening to you. But memory loss after losing a loved one isn't as common, and it doesn't feel like it's as valid for the memory loss that happens in those situations because not everyone goes through it. Like, I feel like almost every veteran that goes through very traumatic experiences like that comes back with memory loss, but not everyone that experiences the death of a loved one has memory loss. So I just feel so alone, and that's hard. I just still feel like, why can't I just be normal? And my therapist keeps telling me, you are normal. Like, something traumatic happened. Like, not to be like harsh, but like, this is a person that you never get to see again. Like they're no longer a part of your life. Like, that's traumatic to experience. Someone that you loved so much is gone. Like, that's traumatic. And my brain has every reason to be scared and shocked at the information and to just disregard everything that's been said. Like, that's normal. But because not everyone goes through it, I just feel like a freak. I doubt anyone is watching this that actually has dissociative amnesia when it comes to this topic, but maybe you do, because, not everyone experiences abuse and, like violence in a war or something, but everyone experiences losing a loved one. But still, I've just read that it's not as common for people to have memory loss. And maybe it is. Maybe I'll do a little more research on it. And again, I'm working on having this diagnosis separate from my PTSD diagnosis, like just dissociative amnesia in general. But I don't know. It's just hard to go through something in a way that it feels like no one else does, and no one gets it, because they're like, we're experiencing the exact same loss right now. Like, I just experience it like months down the road, years down the road. Like, it's so weird and so frustrating. So to wrap up, I just, like I said a bajillion times in this video, this disorder is so beyond heartbreaking and frustrating and difficult when it comes to losing loved ones, because all I want to do is remember them. Like, because you don't get to create any new memories, you just have the old ones to rely on. And when you've lost all of them, you're like, did this person even exist? Like, for me now, I feel like I remember them more as a person buried in the ground than I do as someone who I saw every day. And that's hard, because I feel so guilty. Like, and again, there is that common forgetfulness, but for me, it's just like those things never happened in the first place. Like, I never got to remember them in the first place. Like, of course, I remember all these moments, like, before they passed, and like, any moment before they passed, I could have told you, haha, I remember this time where we did this together, or we had this moment together. But the second I heard those news, little stupid Eduardo comes over and is like, these didn't happen. Which, I get it. Like, your brain is kind of protecting yourself from the harm that's coming, but at the same time, it's like, I just want to face it like normal. So yeah, I really, really hate this disorder, like, with a passion when it comes to topics like this. And even with my abuse, like, I want to be able to heal from everything I went. It's just weird. But now my battery's about to die. I always say this in these hard topic videos, but I feel like there's things I forgot to say. And if there is, maybe I'll add on more to this video. But if not, this is pretty much the gist of it, that it's a heartbreaking and frustrating disorder when it comes to this topic. And I just wish I didn't have to go through it, but I can't control that I go through it. So I'm trying to learn how to live with it, and I think that's what you should do. Anytime life throws you something that's very difficult, just learn to live with it. Just, you can't control it, and that's something that my OCD hates. Like, I can't control that I have this memory loss, but I am fighting, doing everything I can to remember things, but I can't. Like, this disorder won't let me remember them. So it's hard, because I have all these questions and no answers, and I just want answers. So okay, I'm gonna go. I love you guys so much, and God loves you so much, and thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you guys soon. Take care of yourself, because you're valuable. Bye. I should have put lipstick on for this.